This is the foundation. Stories from people who build things, products, services, businesses, how they started, what they're doing now, and where they're going. Welcome, David Turpin from RG Electric in Las Vegas. I appreciate your time, David. As mentioned, I've got the beginning stages of what I would like to call a Q&A dialogue with people that build things, whether that's services or products, and you graciously accepted my invitation. And because I've called it the foundation, that really is sort of the beginning question that I have is, tell me the foundation that is underneath RG Electric's service and product.
Hey, thanks, David, for having me, and appreciate spending the time. RG Electric's been in business out here in Las Vegas 36 years. I joined RG Electric 8 years ago to build the solar division. It mainly was founded in public works and military contracts. RG Electric did the full electrical for all 70 Clark County schools, plus a lot of the infrastructure at Creech Air Force Base where the drones flying in and out. Our team did that electrical as well. And for the past 7 to 8 years, we've solely focused on residential and commercial installations, and that's kind of been our core business. And we're family and veteran owned, so we're very proud of that, and we're proud of our partnerships in the community. We're partnered with the Nevada Veterans Foundation. That started this year. So every install that we do this year, we donate $250 to that organization. And a few months ago, we donated a $30,000 system to a veteran family out here. So that's kind of our core beliefs as a business. We're about community, we're about family. There's a lot of big corporate companies in this renewable energy space. And so we just have a little different touch tone than some of these other brands.
Thank you. So RG Electric has traditional services, but also your renewables or what you're focused on at this point.
Yeah, we're a fully C2 licensed electrical contractor. We have a very high bond limit. Whether you need, new transformers being put in or a light bulb, we kind of have the license that covers all of that. We don't really do small electrical anymore since we've gotten to the renewable space, unless it's one of our customers who needs an outlet or an EV plug or something like that, we'll do it. But again, over the last 7, 8 years, 95% of our business has been residential solar installation.
I'd like to sort of jump on over to two topics that you and I spoke of a little bit. One is the current situation with the subsidies and everything, which has created a bit of a challenge for you. And then the other part of it, which is exciting to hear about, was sort of the battery storage solution. So let's start with what you're seeing right now as sort of the upheaval in the marketplace.
Well, absolutely. And again, great question. The big, beautiful bill for the renewable space is we don't consider it big and beautiful in our four walls. Unfortunately, it's really pulled back the subsidies that have helped this industry grow and expand. So after 2025, on the residential side, if you aren't installed and turned on, you as the homeowner will not receive a 30% tax credit. And instead of doing a gradual step down, which was planned to start in 2032 and then fully end in 2035, during the big beautiful bill, now solar contractors only have till the end of the year to provide that 30% tax savings to the homeowner. So it's really shaken the industry quite a bit. We're already hearing of a lot of layoffs and people being put on furlough, everything from small mom and pop companies up to even Tesla putting people on furlough. We have over 300,000 jobs nationally in this sector. And so unfortunately, we're going to see a lot of those jobs go away. But again, I think anytime that there's an industry under turmoil, there's always those who will rise up and rise to the challenge and create a solution that we can go forward. And that's what we're hoping to put together here at RG Electric and work on every day.
What's your conversations around that, other than just hurry up and get your panels on before the subsidies?
Well, for, the next 3 to 4 months, it's definitely hurry up and get as many customers in the pipeline as possible. But behind the scenes, we're working with our material partners and other finance partners to creatively come up with solutions that will still make solar pencil for the homeowner post-ITC tax credit. Now, when going solar, there's typically 3 different ways you can go solar. There's a traditional purchase, which is either a cash purchase or you go through a finance company where you finance the system. There's what's called a lease, which is pretty much what it is. You're leasing the equipment. They're giving you a warranty. There's no real added value to the house, but you're getting cheaper power. And there's a PPA, which is called a TPO product, which is kind of the hybrid between a lease and a purchase, which allows the homeowner to get a cheaper monthly cost, but after 5 years, they have the option to purchase the system at a depreciated value. So with the ITC tax credit going away, your cash and your lease options are going to go away and your finance options, but your PPA options are still going to be viable through 2027. Post 2027, some of these big finance companies are safe harboring equipment. There are some things in the law that if you pre-buy equipment and allocate it to certain markets that you can still get a tax credit post 2028. And so we're working with some really good finance partners to help us do that in the future. So you're absolutely right. The next 3 to 4 months will be hurry up, everyone. Get it going now or you're going to lose out. And then, come 2026, 2027, we're going to see a lot more of your PPA type of products being utilized. And then in 2028, it's going to be a completely different transition from that point.
When was the first residential panel installed, wherever that might be? What would you say, approximate?
Man, I would have to say it was in the 70s,
In the 70s.
in the mid to late 70s. I think the ITC tax credit was first initiated in the 70s. There's still a lot of, older cabins. It was kind of more for hippies and a taboo and, for people because solar was a
Off
lot
the
more
grid.
expensive back then. So you either had to be a hippie, a big tree hugger, or be pretty wealthy to afford solar back then. But yeah, there's still panels that have been installed in the 70s and 80s that are still working today. The technology hasn't really changed much. It's just kind of been like our computers or phones. It's just condensed in size
It's gotten
and been
slimmer,
able,
right?
yeah, been slimmer for sure.
Well, I think, from a standpoint of leasing is always a curious thought because as any other lease that I have, I return the equipment at some point in time and then kind of upgrade. But with the lease scenario for something that's stationary, that hasn't been a problem either because there isn't a length of time to identify whether there's been degrading of the mechanics of it or the technology, as you said, is so robust that it really doesn't degrade, except it just slims down and gets more efficient.
Well, the panels that we use and a lot of your tier one panels have warranties on production over a 30-year delta. So most panels now that are being installed at the end of 30 years, they have to be working at 85% efficiency or more. And there's a line of production that it kind of goes down year over year. But you're absolutely right. When it comes to leases and PPAs with these power production guarantees, is a lot of those weren't really popular till 2012, 2013, 2014. And most contracts people entered into are 20 and 30-year contracts. So we're not even to the end of those contracts to see what the companies are going to do at that point. But I think that'll open up a new sector for solar companies to help either decommission solar systems or upgrade them to the newer technology at that time.
Well, hopefully the appliance manufacturers see that as a possibility because everybody's tired of their recently purchased refrigerator that dies in 4 years.
They don't make things like they used to, especially in the appliance world.
Apparently, solar panels, they do.
Yeah, I mean, solar panels are pretty robust. I mean, at the end of the day, there's really no moving parts in a solar panel. They're installed, they're collecting the energy from the sun. There's a chemical reaction that happens within the cell that creates the direct current energy. And then your inverters or microinverters are kind of your computer and engine of the system. And those have a tendency to go out more than a solar panel will, but those are usually covered by a pretty robust warranty as well.
Good. Well, let's jump on over to one of the exciting things that you and I spoke about, and that is the battery storage solution. So, talk about how that space is working, how RG Electric is going to take advantage of battery storage solution.
No, absolutely. I mean, I've been kind of on the battery bandwagon for the last 2 or 3 years. I actually feel that sector is going to be much larger than the solar industry is. But with the utilities and the ITC going away, it's going to create an opportunity for batteries to come into markets and help people with their energy bills. I'll use California as an example. PG&E and some other markets require that the homeowner get a battery in that market. They either subsidize the purchase or they provide the battery themselves. But in California, California, there's a lot of rolling blackouts and brownouts due to the grid, the heavy demand on the grid. And that's slowly starting to see that in other metropolitan areas across the country. Because with solar, obviously, it's only producing energy during the daytime. But when everyone's coming home from work, turning on everything at home, the sun is going down. So you have a huge reduction in energy production on the grid and a huge spike, which makes these utility companies either have to fire up a utility station hundreds of miles away to fill a gap, or you have blackouts or brownouts. So what we're seeing is that utility companies are partnering with homeowners and batteries to have access to the battery during those peak times, where the utility company can essentially discharge that battery onto the grid to help power the grid during that time. And so we're starting to see that in Arizona. There's a big 500 home community that was installed 4 or 5 years ago with APS that does that as well. And here in Nevada, our electricity rates haven't been as high as other parts of the country. So battery
San
storage.
Diego.
Yeah, so San Diego's very high, 46, 50 plus cents, depending on the time of use. But out here, relative to the rest of the country, it's cheap and we have a really stable grid. But as our population out here in Las Vegas is growing by 60 to 90,000 people every quarter. And so with that, there comes a lot of expansion and needs. So now that we have a lot of solar on the roofs here, we're starting to experience a little bit of that duck curve as well, in which batteries will need to be installed or retrofitted and act as a microgrid. Basically, you attach a bunch of batteries together that can discharge on the grid. It acts like a power plant. And so that's what's exciting about battery technology in the future. What we're doing here at RGE Electric is we're really going to be focusing on battery retrofits for homeowners that already have solar installed on their roof and being able to retrofit a battery system. And now moving forward, we like to really pitch batteries coupled with solar systems as an added value.
Is it pretty simple to retrofit those?
It depends on the equipment, but almost any solar system can be retrofitted. The battery technology continues to get better and better and cheaper and cheaper. What batteries used to cost $30,000-$40,000 a few years ago are now 10 to 15 grand now. And so we're going to see a lot more adoption in our market, and I believe across the country with batteries.
And how do the utility companies respond to that?
Well, the utility companies are essentially going to want that to happen so they can help discharge those batteries onto the grid. Right now here in Nevada, there is no mechanism or program where between the homeowner and the utility company where they can have access to the battery to discharge. But we do adopt a lot of the laws that happen in California and other markets. And so I anticipate within the next couple of years, NV Energy is going to come out with a similar program with batteries for homeowners and incentivizing the do so they have access to it. Our utility companies do have access to the thermostat. If you get a special NV Energy thermostat, they give the homeowner a special rate on their utility. But most homeowners want to throw that out in a few months because they can never turn their AC down at times they want to. They just see it being controlled up. Yeah. So, at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer. I believe if it's your home, you own it, you should want to own every part of what's in that property. But with this new wave of technology coming, I see batteries as being a partner with the utilities.
What would you like to be asked from the standpoint of a Q&A, somebody who's trying to find out more about a business that you're growing, a business that you're servicing customers with? Is there any particular question that you don't get asked that you wish were asked?
I think a great question would be what should homeowners be doing as a call of action during this time if they're considering solar or on the fence, and how should they go about picking a reputable contractor to actually do the work for them?
Good. That's a good question. And your answer is?
My answer is, every company, you're able to look them up from their license, from the state license to the local jurisdictional license. I always recommend any company that you're going to engage with, please log on to the state website, look them up, and make sure their business license is in good standing. The other one is reviews. Obviously, reviews can be a mixed bag. You're not going to make every customer happy, but is that company engaging with every person putting a review, whether it's a 5-star review or not? At the end of the day, who's going to be here with lasting standing power. And there's a lot of fly-by-night solar companies that you might save a couple grand on going with them, but do they have the track record in this market or in any other market in the country where they're going to be here to help service your warranty in the future? And I think those are some of the biggest differentiating things that people are really price sensitive, but sometimes being overly price sensitive, you can make the wrong decision and it ends up costing the homeowner a lot more down the line.
Interesting. What kind of conversations are you having internally or with customers about concerns with AI and solar farms and the amount of energy that it's going to be needed, or with batteries, for lack of a better term, dirtiness of it in regards to the collection of the minerals and everything?
Yeah, so there's kind of two parts to that question. First, I would say, going back to the big, beautiful bill, the attack on the solar industry, removing that subsidy, not giving us a runway to adjust properly, is kind of counterintuitive for exactly what you said. All the AI data centers that are coming on board, all the electrical infrastructure growth we need in the country, there's really no quicker way to deploy energy on the grid than solar energy. And when you talk about getting permits and other things to get power on the grid, they take a very long time. Nuclear takes years and years. And so we were pretty shocked internally within our solar universe here that that would be something that would be kind of a rug pull just based on this administration's goals and the United States goals with energy production in the future. Now, when it comes to where the minerals get through and how these batteries get, put together and where they source that materials, absolutely. But the partners that we've worked with, with SolarEdge, their battery systems, store powers, Solarc is a great company. They have responsible sourcing areas where they source that material from. But as you said, as these materials phase out, who's going to take on the recycling and the cleanup of these old materials? And so I think new industries are going to emerge when it comes to decommissioning and removing these items once they become obsolete or no longer operational. And I think that'll be a big industry that pops up due to how much we do have already installed. But yeah, I mean, our cell phones and these batteries and all the parts that are made here, if we knew where all that stuff was sourced from on a daily basis, I think people might make a little different of a choice. So, being responsible with your purchase and asking those questions of your installer and what brand they use and how they source their product should be an important question on the kitchen table.
I want to thank you for your time, David.
Absolutely.
It's been very enlightening for me to hear how RG is doing. And what do you hope, as we end this, that the listeners would like to glean from this insight?
I'd like to just let the listeners know that obviously if you own a home or a business, now's the time to act on looking at solar for your property and acting. Not only is solar going to cost 30% more next year, anyone who has a solar system installed now, the value of that system is going to increase naturally next year because no one's getting the subsidies. I'd also ask homeowners, if you own a home, you own it for value and equity. Why would you let the utility company be in infinite debt on your asset when you yourself could be your own power company and own your own power and be free of that? So, at the end of the day, I appreciate being here and, thank you to all the listeners out there, tuning in, and, look forward to future conversations.
Thank you, David. The Foundation is produced by Studio Conover and edited by Brett Euler. Studio Conover is a strategic marketing design firm for manufacturers of building products. Visit studioconover.com for more information.